Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of the Deliente Fellow Travelers podcast. I'm Michael Lewanski. I'm the conductor of Ensemble Deliente. I'm here with composer Carola Bauckholt, whose name I practiced pronouncing extensively because my German is terrible. Thank you for being kind, Carola. So Carola Bauckholt was born in Krefeld, Germany in 1959. After working at the Theater am Marienplatz, Krefeld for several years, she studied composition at the Hochschule Köln with Mauricio Kagel. She founded the Thürmchen Verlag with Caspar Johannes Walter in 1985, and 6 years later, they founded the Thürmchen Ensemble. I'm really trying with the German. In 1998, she was designated Artist of the Year by the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, and she was selected to represent Germany at the World Music Days in Mexico City in 1992, Copenhagen 1996, Seoul in 1997, and Zurich in 2004. She was awarded the German Composers Prize from the GEMA in the category of experimental music in 2010. In 2013, she was elected as a member of the Akademie der Künste in Berlin. She was appointed as professor of composition with focus on contemporary music theater, Musiktheater, I suppose, at the Anton Bruckner Private University at Linz, Austria. From the London International Animation Festival in 2019, she received the Best Sound Design Award for The Flounder in collaboration with Elizabeth Hobbs and Klangform Wien. In 2020, she was elected as a member of the North Rhine-Westphalian Academy of Sciences, Humanities, and the Arts. So that's all. That's kind of some basic factual information. I'm going to read the next paragraph in your bio a little bit later, because that's actually where the interesting stuff is. But actually, before we get to anything else, in your biography it says this thing that, and it's it's a big difference, I think, between English and German. It says you're a professor of composition with focus on contemporary music theater. And in English, music theater tends to mean like, a Broadway musical, with songs and, like West Side Story or something is music theater in English. But Musiktheater, the equivalent kind of term in German, means something really different, right?
Yes, I sometimes call it scenical composition. I don't know if it's a good translation. Let's check. Yeah, I have to get used to my voice.
That sounds great.
Yes, scenical composition to avoid this. Opera is not the right term. Mm-hmm. And when I studied with Mauricio Kagel, his class was named Contemporary Music Theater, which worked quite well here in German, but it's always difficult to translate it right.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also kind of a difficult concept, right? I mean, where does music end and where does theater begin? I mean, do you have any definition of that, or just?
No. Fortunately not.
Good answer.
And it's what we have now. Music opens up to visual elements, to drama, to medias, and this is all possible, and this thing has to be developed. So it's not clear yet, and won't be clear never.
Yeah. Wild. Has to be developed and won't be clear ever. Yeah, I like that way of thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, I guess, do you want to say anything? So your music scene is like so unique to me. That's, and so I really wonder how you even thought about composing any of the pieces that you have composed. Maybe this is meant to be a compliment. The other day I had a very stressful day, and I sat down to listen to some of your music, and I started listening to the orchestra piece, In the Eye of Sound, right? You can say that. What's the German title?
Im Auge des Klangs, in the eye of the sound.
In the eye of the sound, yeah.
Yes.
And like what I thought upon listening to this piece was like, not just this is like such a great piece, which I did think, but I thought actually like, wow, music is so great. So not only did I like your piece, but your piece made me like music more. So I don't know if should we talk a little bit about that orchestra piece? Because I think this is just a fabulous piece, and it really is not. It's not so theater related, but it does relate to a bunch of other stuff that you do, where you sort of bring in kind of outside sounds. And
yes,
would that be okay?
Yeah, would be.
Do you mind if we just play a little bit of the beginning of the orchestra piece? Maybe I'll start at the very beginning, then we'll skip around. I tried to actually like write down all the sections of the piece that I wanted to talk about, but it was just like every minute I was writing down a different section. So it was just like, we might as well listen to the whole piece. I mean, we'd be here for a while, but I'll play. Here is just a little bit of the beginning of Im Augen des Klanges. So we sort of start with this high F sharp for a while, and slowly we get some, lower sounds coming in, and maybe I'll skip ahead just a few minutes. Okay, let's stop there for a moment before we just listen to the whole piece, because I really like it. But I mean, how do you go about composing a piece like this, where it seems to me that like each sound is when I hear it, it's not what I predicted, it's not what I thought was going to happen, but after I hear it, it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So it's like at first it's like we've got this F sharp going along, then we introduce a low note, and then these kind of like these woodwind things come in, like they're birds or something like that. I'm not sure how you think about it, but it's like when the woodwinds come in with the, it's like totally unexpected, but then in retrospect, it makes a lot of sense. So I don't know how do you go about, what's the process for composing a piece like this with these totally like unexpected sounds, I think?
Yeah, I normally don't have a plan, but I have one detail to start with. Of course, maybe the plan was a bit to create a space, because orchestra is fantastic and music is fantastic, and to create a really deep space with sounds. This, I'm very fascinated on how it is possible. So the first idea, I was completely thrilled of one instrumentation of Mussorgsky's. There is a small piece, Talk with the Death in the death language.
Oh, sure. Yeah. In the pictures and exhibition.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And I listened to that in an instrumentation by Elgar Howard for brass. And there was this sound, trumpet, marimba, and vibraphone with this doodle tongue trumpet. And yeah, I wanted to start with that, to really have the imagination of something very far away from which it develops the whole thing.
So yeah, that's so you start without a plan. You start with the plan of like opening up a space, and you start with some detail that you really like from this a really like odd detail, right? Like not the original piano version of Mussorgsky, not the Ravel orchestration that's famous, not even you know, a different orchestration that's famous, but like a brass, you know, instrumentation or something like that. And then you are fascinated by that and you sort of compose out the beginning. And then, so how did you think of the kind of like this bird sound, this, I don't know if it's, is it a bird sound or what is it?
Yeah, this is a quote from myself, because I wrote this piece, Migration Birds, Zugvögel, for a reed quintet, where I instrumentated very like a photograph, sounds of singing swans or different birds with this. They have a reed in the throat.
Okay, wild.
And these birds are very many. So I was very tempted to try out, is it possible in the orchestra to have this crowd of birds in the woodwinds?
A crowd of birds in the woodwinds. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's what woodwind players feel like a lot of the time. So I mean, yeah. What do you like about birds? Like, what's
This is a long story. So in general, I think I'm translating sounds from not musical environments into music. I think I do that all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Because, yeah, the inspiration comes from out of the music. Because music is just perfect and I have nothing to add. But I can add my experience of listening the world, let's say.
Music is perfect and I have nothing to add. That's... But I mean, so birds, I mean, you know, there is like a history of composers who have like who have been interested in birds, you know, like Messiaen, obviously, you know, even like Beethoven in the Sixth Symphony, there's like transcribed bird quotes, or like Mahler in the First Symphony, that kind of stuff. But your use of birds I think is very different. It's like with Messiaen, it's kind of like very sentimental and, you know, kind of, he has religious associations with birds. But for you, it feels like it's more like, I don't know, special or like affectionate or loving. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about your use of birds.
I'm sure if Messiaen would have the technology, he would have done it more precisely.
Yeah.
And because it's really interesting to make it like a photo. And now it's possible to go so close with it. It's because you can slow down all the things you hear to transcribe it more precise and to know what's inside these sounds. Yeah, I think I'm not, it's more the fun of listening because machines I like too. So it's not, I in the beginning I was and would never touch animals because I don't know, machines are closer to our lives. And yeah, machines I listen to the voice of the machine. The machines don't. But the animals, they are livings, so beings. So to take their voice, I had problems.
Yeah.
But then I tried to do it, and of course it works so wonderful. And they give me all the pitches, which I like so much.
They're sort of like co-composers or something like that.
Yeah,
you know, like
they give me all the material.
Right. Well, no, that's. So, I mean, that's. Yeah, please.
Yeah, to come back to the orchestra piece, I think I feel a bit like a painter. So first I have to care of the groundings, and then to create space and add something. And yeah, at the end it's a completely story, but made by. So the painting starts from behind. Yeah,
like the background or something.
Exactly. Not that there is an idea, but I work from, the material and the idea is there at the end. So maybe in how you mentioned it, that at the end it makes sense, And during listening, it's unexpected.
Right. Okay, that's wild. So kind of like your composition process is kind of like my listening process. It's
yes, I think so.
Or
yes.
in retrospect, it makes sense, but there wasn't a plan to begin with.
Exactly.
That is that's like a really different way of thinking about form. Sorry, of course I'm talking to a German composer about form. I'm sure that's like what you guys think about, but it's a different way of thinking. Traditional ways of thinking about form is like the form exists, and then you sort of pour the material into the form, and there's the piece. But you're suggesting that the form kind of like reveals itself or something like that. The process of composing is the process of figuring out the form. Is that right?
Exactly. And thank you for describing your listening, because it's really true that it's kind of the same what I'm doing during composing. I'm really in a black tunnel when I start a piece. And I trust my unconsciousness, my nose.
Okay.
And
both your nose and your unconscious.
My nose is my unconscious.
Okay.
So I do something, and then I go a step back and look at it and say, I try to explain myself where I am going by seeing what I write. Yeah.
Do you ever have a realization afterwards? You like write something and then you step back and you look at it and you're like, oh, I was thinking about, do you ever
sometimes it happens years after the first performance that
cool.
I realize what I've done. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's nuts. Well, let's listen to another part of the piece, if that's okay. Just because the thing is, like, there's just so much in the piece it's like a 20-minute piece, but it goes by like really quickly or something like that. Because I think because like the listener, as I'm saying, like the listener is like really with you the whole time. The listener is like, okay, I'm listening. Oh, now it's unexpected. Now I got to pay attention to this. And then so the process of listening is really engaging. I think it's not like you can't just put it on in the background and walk away. It's like the piece really draws you in. So here's just another section of it. Great. Maybe we'll just play that little section. So yeah, how did obviously the sort of the string kind of glissandos, become a really important part of the piece later, and they get faster. But where did those come from? And especially that violin, like, which is so great when you hear it. You're just like, what's that shiny thing over there? Where did that come from? I mean, was that you just following your nose?
I don't know if which part you mean exactly, but what you sing remembers me like a whale. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I meant this. Let me play. I'll just play the little bit I was thinking of again, since I didn't do a very good job of singing it. It was. It's like, maybe it's around. Oh, sorry. this it's that violin bit, you know, that it's a wail. That
yeah, and of course here it's very important that things are falling. You have always this whomp. Something
right.
is falling, and this is a slow motion of this, which comes down.
And then like the percussion in the brass with the mouthpiece, that's like hitting the floor. It's like boom.
Yes, exactly.
Is that the idea?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay. There's a kind of, let's listen to the next or another section where like there's more kind of the string glissandos get even more intense. Okay, again, we got to stop because otherwise we're just going to listen to the whole piece.
Yes.
So the you know, I love the string, that kind of low string, like it like feels like it's some like, you know, monster with like many legs, you know, and the legs are all different sizes or something like that, and it can't like walk straight, or it can't walk with a good rhythm, and you know it's going but I don't know, I mean, so that's just what I thought. Maybe a very nice monster, like a kind of kind, gentle monster, but nevertheless a monster with a lot of legs. I don't know, so what were you thinking of?
Yeah, interesting. So first the idea was to describe a rotating ball.
Okay.
With this gliss back and forth, but going up with this back and forth, or going down with this back and forth, that you have a rotating movement. But then I felt that it's really an extremely, lamenting of old, so it's a bit Arabic, a bit lamenting, a bit old voices, all the time lament. So for me, this is human, very human.
Oh, okay, not a monster, but a human.
That's the same. For me, it's a human voice. To have this space, the kind of physical things happen, like falling, and the kind of animals, and then the strings is the mass of the human voice lamenting, and to have them unisono, it really is very interesting because it's so vague, kind of. It's not so precise. It's very unsharp, but
right.
You have these gestures.
Yeah. Right. No, it's not sharp. Right. It is kind of, even though they're all playing the same thing, it is kind of vague or something like that. And, you know, and maybe, it's like a big, and I like that idea of like the mass of humanity, It's like we've got the birds over here in the woodwinds and the humans here in the strings.
Exactly.
You know.
And important is the percussion instrument.
Yeah.
This I invented, or I found it. It's a cardboard gift box.
A cardboard gift box. This isn't the red chicken, is it?
No, the red chicken
the box.
is only once a noise which makes a sharp air. No, the boxes are when you put colophonium, a raisin on it, and rub it on wood, it makes this baby-like screaming overtones. Exactly. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yes, cardboard gift box. It will appear.
Yeah, it'll appear when I don't know what's going on with this. Right, the yellow one, right?
Exactly. So this is a normal gift box, and you can buy it in every sizes. And with raisin on the wood, it creates huge possibilities of sound. Soft and extremely loud, and it's always a spectrum, a multiphonics, which could be not so nice to listen to. And it interacts with the other sounds, the strings. So there is happening a lot of things which I didn't know before.
How did you find this sound? Was it intentional? Were you like, okay, I want to figure out what makes the sound I'm imagining, or did you hear the sound accidentally, or?
This is a long story too, because for the piece Hellhörig, I wrote for 4 percussionists, and I wanted to find lots of new sounds. And normally noises are high frequent. And here I asked the percussionists, how is it possible to have deep noises? And he answered me, it's just a question of the size of the sound body.
So just to make sure I understand what you're saying that like normally we associate like noisy sounds with being high frequency, but you were interested in how you can have noisy sounds that are low frequency. Is that
exactly
right? Okay, yeah,
exactly. Because noises are created by friction, and frictions make these overtones, and you come immediately in a high spectrum. Yeah. So he told me just take a big sound body, and we tried out with big card boxes, and to produce sound with them, to rub it. Or he brought a tub of zinc, these old big tubs.
Zinc.
Zinc, yes, where you in older time you take a bath in it.
Oh, sure, like a bathtub kind of. Okay.
Yeah, but smaller. Now you have it in the garden with flowers in it, if you find them. And with this, we rubbed it on the floor, and it created a wonderful sound, brass-like sound. So, but this cardboard gift boxes I found through this research. Yeah, okay. I do sound researches, finding sounds. Yeah, mostly with percussionists.
Yeah. Okay, wow. Okay. I mean, do you catalog them? Is it like you decide I'm interested in this kind of sound, and so you just talk with the percussionist about different methods of getting? So I mean, the whole world can be a percussion instrument in that sense.
Yeah. Sometimes. So mostly I am looking for something, and we try out, and then I find a lot of things which I didn't look for. So it's both. I find them and I search them.
Great. Yeah, sure. That makes a lot of sense. So I'm just processing all this. It's such it's an interest. I mean, it's a, just one of the things that really interests me about your music is that yeah, is that question of material, you know, because it seems that, I mean, not always, but many times, you know, composers have scientific or sort of precise ways of generating material, you know, they come up with a process to generate material, or like they think of pitch as a material, or they think, you know, even microtonal pitches as materials, but this is a different, this is a more kind of fluid way of generating material, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm very interested in enrich our material.
Uh-huh.
It's a long tradition. I think we are
Sure.
doing this. Yes. And there are many ways to do it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, I use, if I found a new sound, I have it in my, yes, it comes with me a long time. So I can't write a piano piece without this arco technique John Cage found.
Uh-huh.
And so now it's difficult to write a percussion piece without using cardboard gift boxes.
The gift box, yeah.
So,
yeah.
And for orchestra, it's a bit risky, of course, because they have to learn to work with this.
Yeah.
But they did.
But they did.
So
I mean, I think it's a really good performance. I mean, so, you know, so yeah, you also, you mentioned earlier with the bird sound, a kind of self-quotation. And, you know, I think I've seen this in other pieces of yours, like the clarinet trio that Del Niente's played. That's a quote from another piece. And they're just, so yeah, all your pieces do have some sense of interrelation, where it's like you rethink some sound or some technique, or you recontextualize it, or how does that work? Is it just like you continue to think about this sound and then it shows up in another place, and it's never like a copy, is it? It's always like a different context, or is it a copy?
Yeah, hope so. For an orchestra, it's really new to bring these different things together.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, this string motive, I took from a cello trio, where I was thinking about this rotation things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very true. In this orchestra piece, I put things together, quote myself, but I have to say it's really a new experience. So it makes sense for me.
Yeah. What can we listen? Maybe we can listen to like some at the end where like the where it sort of becomes more like animated, or, you know, I don't know whatever that word is.
Climax.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Exactly. I could just not use a fancy word. I could just say climax. There you go. again, I'm gonna just listen to the whole piece. Um, uh, yeah, I don't have anything to say about that other than just I'd like it. Like, I think especially, maybe it does. I hear what you mean by it sounds very human. It's like almost like wailing or sobbing, like, but also like sometimes kind of speech-like. And I think another really interesting thing about using all the strings like that in unison is that it also sounds improvisatory, right? It sounds like it sounds like they're all improvising this unpredictable rhythm at the same time, which obviously is like impossible for them to all just magically play the same rhythm. But it does have that kind of like contradictory sense of being like improvised, but like everyone is doing the same improvisation at the same time. Like there's some sort of like big collective brain or something like that.
Yes, it's full of accelerando and rallentando, and this makes this unclear situation. Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I guess I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about the orchestra piece? I mean, other than just like it's the best piece. I mean, is it going to be? Is the recording going to be released? I mean, is that a thing that?
No, I did now a reduced version for a performance in Tectonics by Ilan Volkov, which of course has to be cancelled now.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, but it's there. So and I shortened a bit something to make it even so I'm curious, how does this work in a smaller instrumentation?
Cool.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, but it's still an orchestra piece, right?
Yes, of course.
Well, I'll try to. I mean,
only two instead of three.
3 woodwinds and that sort of thing. Okay, well, maybe I'll try to do it next year or the year after at Paul with my orchestra because I think they would do a good job.
Maybe
we can talk about that.
I reduce it even more.
Even more, yeah. Well, so speaking of reductions, maybe can we like switch gears and talk about the violin piece?
Yes.
Is it okay? I mean, so speaking of totally reduced now, so first this violin piece, it's called double exposure. Is that
exactly
sort of what you might translate the title as? Doppelbelichtung. Belichtung. My German.
Licht is
Belicht. Yeah. It's that CH in German, I think, is really hard for English speakers, because we do have a ch and we have a k and we've got all that kind of things, but that kind of like in between sort of Belichtung. I think we always more Belichtung. I'm sorry, Belicht. Well, I'll get it. Belicht.
And the worst thing is our Türmchen ensemble. Türmchen. We didn't. Türmchen. We didn't think about internationality, so.
Well, why would you? I mean,
it's really a horrible name for ensemble. Yes.
What does it mean? What does it mean?
Little tower.
A little tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very,
I don't think that's a bad name. I don't think that's a bad name. I like that name. I think Daliente is kind of a dumb name personally, but that's just
But everybody knows why Daliente is. I like that name.
Yeah. Well, I just think honestly, I just think that since I always think it's pretentious for like a U.S. ensemble to have its name be in a foreign language, because so many people in the U.S. only normally speak one language. They normally only speak English, and sometimes people learn Spanish in school or French or something like that. But we don't have to speak other languages. And whereas like in Europe, of course, everyone speaks 5 languages, and so I think it's really pretentious when U.S. groups have, they want to pretend like they're fancy, and so they take an Italian word, and I don't know.
Yeah, and here every group has an English name, of course.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, most Germans just speak English better than like native English speakers do. So.
Yeah, except myself, but I will do my best in future. I come to US and I will stay longer and improve my English.
Oh, I think your English is great. I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
No, you've got.
I never lived in an English-spoken country.
Oh, okay.
So I my melody is German. So, and I think I should have done it, but yeah, I will do it.
Yeah. So have all of your studies been in Germany?
Yes.
Yeah.
Only one teacher.
Yeah. Kagel.
Yes. So at this time, it was not so common to go around, and I thought, or I was living in Cologne, and I was the only German in the class. So
you were the only German in the class?
Yes, because it's very international. So I thought, they come to Cologne, why do I have to go out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that. I think in my next life I would travel more.
What was studying with Kagel like? How is he as a teacher? I mean,
yeah, it was really good. He so he let us completely free. I learned to be my own teacher, kind of.
Yeah.
But he gave us space, and he is, as a person, very, very positive. And he has fun with every stupid things. And so he is the opposite of a critical teacher.
Okay.
And this was so good. He encouraged us just to do. So he never looked at my scores.
Really?
Yeah, I was a bit shy. I was very young. The others were older than me. So, yeah, it was not a work on the score. It was a work on doing performances. Yeah.
Okay. Did you, I actually don't know, what instrument do you play, or, did you?
I learned piano as a child, but without fire, because I didn't understand music, I have to say. And my parents, they are passionate, leidenschaftlich.
Passionate.
Passionate.
Yep. Leidenschaftlich.
Leidenschaftlich, wow.
Leidenschaftlich.
Amateurs.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So for me, the traditional music, it was bourgeois. And I even didn't understand anything. And my way came through the art a bit.
Oh, okay, sure.
The fine arts. When I saw Dadaism and Surrealism and so. And my big luck was this Theater am Marienplatz in my hometown, where I went when I was 16 years old.
You went to work there when you were 16?
Yes. Yeah. It's an amateur theater.
Okay.
And they did pieces of Kagel, Cage, Beckett, experimental music. So this is unique in a small town to have that. And there, yeah, I was spoiled from there.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I understood what you said. So you thought that traditional music, like classical music, and you played the piano, you thought it was bourgeois because your parents are like really passionate amateurs. And so you like, was it like you had like a rebellious phase where you're like, you're a cool teenager and you're like, you think this stupid Beethoven stuff is bourgeois, and so you going to go work in a theater and do experimental, or
yeah,
was
of
it
course,
that, or
the time was very rebellic, and it was a no future generation.
No future.
No future. Yeah, it's funny to say it now.
You mean maybe maybe in the U.S. maybe we don't know about that generation, but was that actually, the generation thought of itself as being a no future generation?
Yeah, it's true, because it's crazy to see it from our perspective. So it was the post 68, the rebellion about the Nazi parents.
Right.
I was a bit younger than them.
Okay.
10 years younger.
Yeah.
But in my time, there was this RAF, Red Army fraction with Bader-Meinhof and
Oh, sure, yeah.
I have to, yeah, there was a strong terror organization. And this was in my time when the state started to get more fixed, and now we don't have this anymore. And so a political strong period. So I thought when there's no future, I can do what I like to do. So there's no reason to do something reasonable. I just do what I like.
Yeah.
So, and it was a good decision.
Yeah, I think it works out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really unusual training for a composer, right? I mean, that's like, you think of a composer training, you learn the piano, you learn the violin or something like that. Then you like take counterpoint lessons and you take theory lessons.
It's not really. I think for all artists, step one is to have nothing to lose. I think it's a good starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Step one is to have nothing to lose. Okay, that's great. That's like I'm gonna write that down. I don't want to forget that. Well, I guess we'll have
or step zero is
step zero, right? Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Step zero. Base step is have nothing to lose. Cool. Sorry, we went on a tangent there just because I was suddenly curious about Kagel.
Yeah, and there I met in this theater. I played Kagel pieces, acoustica, and so I was very young. And Kagel visited us, and he asked me if I'm studying music. And I was still in school, so I was very surprised. And I took all my courage. Your
courage, yeah.
Yes, to go there as a guest with having composed anything. So I was there making lights or something. So it was a kind of anarchic situation. Joseph Beuys, the fine artist, Beuys.
I don't.
You know him, I'm sure. Beuys.
Yeah. Beuyys,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
The fine artist, he taught in Düsseldorf, and he opened up the class for everybody. He said, everybody is an artist. So no entrance examinations. Everybody studied, and he had 500 students. And then he was fired because it's not possible in an institution. But it was a bit this time, this spirit in the air.
Right. Okay. That's your formative time, is like this kind of anarchic.
Yeah, and for
situation.
The class with Kagel was not at all structured, and in fact, it was a class for post-degree people, and I went there with nothing. So yeah, it was a space for freedom.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Of freedom. Yeah,
that's an amazing story. I mean, and then you got through studying with Kagel. And what did you do? You were like, what the hell do I do now?
Yeah, of course, I worked in theater am Marienplatz in Krefeld, because this was much more things to do. And I'm studying at the same time. Doing things. I think I was there 6 years. And after, when I finished, then I started to discover instrumental techniques and so. So it's really not the normal way.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, it's also the right way, maybe.
Yeah, it was like this. But I try when I'm teaching now to give a lot of free space for experiments and for not to lead them. Because they have to find their own way.
Yeah. That actually sounds like a really difficult pedagogical kind of situation. That how do you, if the goal, right? Of course, the goal of all teaching is to teach a student to teach themselves. to be their own
Exactly.
teacher, right?
Exactly.
And I find that that's difficult with, I work with a lot of instrumentalists, and that can be difficult because oftentimes they're taught by their teachers to, there's a certain way to play the instrument. There's a certain way to, very specific stylistic guidelines. But with composition, yeah, I mean, that sounds like a different challenge because maybe you could just let them do whatever they wanted and they would never write a piece. And also it's really also obvious that it could be easy to be overly restrictive. So is there a middle ground? I mean, how do you approach when a composition student comes to you? What do you?
So very important is the class, the peers,
Sure.
To have interesting students. And yes, of course, I offer them good working possibilities, like, good projects. And then, of course, they want to do. And they develop.
Can you name is there some recent piece by one of your students that you really liked, or do you want to talk about, or we don't have to talk about that if you don't want?
Yeah, of course. Christine Tjørgersen, a Norwegian composer. She is doing amazing, wonderful things. Yes, I can write it.
Yeah, sure.
Later.
Yeah.
There's a Chinese composer, Iran Zhao, who is doing very interesting music theater, so scenical things. And there are a lot, Jorge Gomez. So I can give you some examples of very cool young composers.
Yeah, sure. Maybe we can, if you send me some stuff after the interview, we could just intersperse a few seconds of some pieces or something like that.
Yes.
That might be nice to do. Cool.
Auf Kunst, Antwort auf Kunst. What? What? Tisch.
Well, I wanted to talk about the violin piece. That was actually my initial idea back in, 20 minutes ago. But then I was like, but let's talk about Kagel, So, but this violin piece, but this is just sometimes how my brain works is I'm like this, but then this, and,
Yeah, it's so good not to start with a biography.
Right. So this violin piece. So the first thing that I want to say about this violin piece, and we can see if it's going to happen again. But the other night I was listening to this. So it's a piece for violin. It's a double exposure. The piece for violin and like 6 other transducer violins. Yeah, and it's very high, and it's a bunch of these like really carefully recorded bird sounds and then precisely notated also in the violin part. And it starts with the violin only, and we'll listen to it in a second. And I was listening to it late at night the other night, and my cat was asleep on the sofa next to me. And as soon as I started playing that, you just totally knocked out, And then as soon as I started playing the piece, he poked his head up and like ran around trying to figure out where this bird sound was coming from. And he like ran through the house, and then he ran back, and finally he was like staring at the computer, trying to figure out what this sound was coming from the computer. So I'm gonna unplug my microphone, and I'm gonna start the piece, and let's see if this happens again. I'm not sure if you could tell, but he was like licking himself, and then as soon as the piece started, he started staring at the computer. I'm not sure if that was obvious or not, but anyway.
Lovely audience.
No, I think he's the biggest fan of this piece that I've seen. I think I like the piece too, but I think he likes it more. No, and it really, and then this morning I was listening to it again, and he got up again from his nap, and he like ran to the other side of the house because there's birds in the back. So it's springtime here in Chicago, and so the birds are starting to come back, and he's just obsessed with these birds. And he always he sits at the window and he like scratches at the window to try to get them. And I think he thought the sound was coming from the back, and he ran to the back and realized wasn't where it was coming from. And then he ran back here to the table, and he sort of walked around the computer for a while, and then he like came up to me and like started staring at me in the face like I was making the bird sounds. And he and I have had a good time listening to this piece.
Yeah, it's amazing. This high frequencies, they have no body, so it's difficult to locate them.
And is that part of the idea behind this? Let's play a little more of the video so people can see the violins hanging. Okay, we can stop that for just 1 second. So yeah, so we could see from the screen that that there's 5 violins and a viola hanging around the audience, and they have transducers on the back of them. Is that right?
Yes.
And how did you decide? Well, how did you sort of think of the whole setup? And the bird sounds are being projected through the violins, and they move around the audience. Is that how it works, or?
Yeah. So last time we did it outdoor, and this was, what it should be, the best.
Yeah.
Because we hang this violin in the trees. I will send you a photo.
Okay.
To show.
Yeah.
And she was playing outdoors. And this, this is really, I thought it's doubling because the birds are there. We should do it in the spring.
Right.
We never did it in the spring.
Oh, okay.
In the spring, but it's really so crazy to put this birds from a violin into the nature again. It's doppelt gemoppelt, we say in German. So you say things twice, you imitate them and to bring them back in the nature.
Right.
It's crazy.
Then you put the imitation back.
Exactly.
You play the imitation back towards the thing that it's imitating.
Exactly. So this is really cool. And you don't have speakers, you just have the violins making, building the resonance of the music. And in a concert hall where speakers are there, you don't experience that the sound is coming only from the violin. You think that it's coming from the speakers. So it makes a lot of sense in a room where are no speakers. And we did it in a stereo version too, in a hall, and it's possible too. So there are various possibilities of performances.
I'm curious, why did you want to have, in addition to a solo violin, the transducers specifically attached to other violins?
So this, because you don't need a speaker for this high frequency. It could be very tiny things.
Yeah.
So I just thought it's a connection between the violin and the original sounds done here. Yes. And by the way, the idea of this piece came from the violinist, from Karin Hellquist. She performed a piece of mine, which is called Lichtung.
Lichtung.
Yeah, it's glade. When you have a wood and there's no trees and there's more sun. Glade.
Yeah, sure. Like a glen or like a clearing,
something.
English, right?
Yeah, it's a string quartet where I used this bird sounds, and she was so virtuous, and she asked me to write a solo piece, and I thought it's really too naive, but the idea to confront the imitation with the original, I did there the first time, and this is interesting. In the middle, she's playing in unison with a bird.
Right.
And this sounds like electronic music. It's
right.
Yes.
That's exactly what I thought too. No, I love that spot. That's exactly what I thought as well. Is it sounds like electronic music, which is
weird,
such a really bizarre. You've got a bird sound, which is a sort of natural sound, and a violin imitating the bird sound, and together those two things sound like an electronic sound, which is a totally crazy conceptual leap. Yeah. That's amazing. And did you intend that, or did that just happen?
No, it was a surprise. It was a surprise, yeah.
I did want to ask you about. There's still a lot to ask you about, but I don't want to take all your time. But I when you were here in Chicago last summer, you were working with some composition students at our summer program at DePaul that Del Niente did, and we did this exercise called instant composing, which was super fun. Like one of the funnest things we did a piece in the parking garage. And we did a piece in like the street intersection, Somehow cars were the theme. I don't know how that ended up happening, but yeah, what's the idea behind instant composing, and how did you sort of think of this process?
Yeah, it's just to work in little groups in very short time together. And the important thing is to go out in unconventional spaces, concert space, unconventional things in the bathroom or in the garden or whatever, or under the L in Chicago.
Yeah, in Chicago, yeah. That was really great pronunciation of L, very like with kind of that very dead American kind of L sound. L. So great job under the L, exactly.
And to listen to what could be added to this already interesting situation, like this crossing with, I remember 6 streets where we went through the red lights. Yeah, and this freshes our brain to experience, to perceive what is already there and what can we add if we perceive it like a composition. Yeah.
What's already there and what we can add if we perceive it like a composition. Yeah.
Like in the park house, you remember?
Yeah.
Where was this extreme echo, and they played with it.
Yeah. Yeah, in the parking garage, right? The parking garage was it has like a low ceiling, and it doesn't echo this way, but it does echo this way. Exactly. Which honestly I had no idea about, and I think we have photos of it, but I park in that parking garage, not now because we're all stuck inside, but like that was where I would always drive my car, and I would always park there, and I would always think, wow, what a sort of dead acoustic it is. It doesn't resonate at all, but we discovered that it actually does resonate in this direction, which was crazy. That's actually like exactly to prove your point. It's like looking at the space and seeing what we can add to it does make one think about the space in a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah. And is that an exercise that you do with your composition students, or how often do you sort of get to present this kind of instant composing idea?
Yeah, to be honest, we haven't done it. I do it when I visit, when I'm as a guest composer, because I don't know the people, and often the people don't know each other.
Sure.
And it's very good to interact, that they create something. But I should do it in Linz again. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know what like composition students come up with, in that.
And it's so good to mix composition students with performers, that they work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you mean, I'm just curious, how do you think about the audience is the audience just the creators, should pieces written in this process be played again? Are they always is there always only one performance? Do you know what I mean? Or
you think in this instant composing?
Yeah.
Of course, it's a very strong experience, and I wish that they will develop it, taking an idea and do it to use that experience.
So it's sort of like research in the way that you were talking about your.
Yes. So I never thought about doing a bunch of these short pieces and recreate it.
Yeah.
I never did it.
Yeah.
And to refine it, but it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't either. I was so taken with the concept when we did it in Chicago last summer. And, that I mean, the reason I'm thinking about it, or I'm asking this, is because it really does challenge, a kind of preconceived notion of what a work is. You sort of think of a work as, something written down, I don't know, something that has some identity, but this was a different, just the idea of what a work was was just a much more kind of fluid and unclear process. And so I was just thinking, well, what would happen if you played it again? Would it be the same piece? Would it be a different piece? You know, does the actual day that it happens on, is that crucial for the identity of the piece? I mean, maybe it's not even an interesting question, but it had me challenging what I understood a work to be.
So I can imagine that this create other things.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe people go back to some ideas. Problem maybe is that the ideas were found in a group, and the group is not working together anymore.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe people feel strange to take this idea. But so mainly the experience is important, but it's really true and possible to go deeper in that and improve that idea and make a perfect piece out of it. Yeah.
Cool. And then when you were in Chicago, also we hope we're going to be able to work with you whenever. Well, who knows what's going to happen in the future? But when you were in Chicago, you had this idea that you wanted to write a piece for Del Niente where the players were on boats. Do I remember that correctly?
Of course, yes.
Why boats, and why did Chicago make you think of that? Or
yeah, I did a boat tour, of course.
Of course, yeah.
And it's already kind of film you are in. It's really so surreal to see one building from this perspective and then from the other perspective, and they're mirroring each other. So it's really already an artwork. And to put music to that, the audience sitting on the boat, and some players on the boat, some players on outside on the at the river, it's such a great stage.
Oh, yeah.
Already done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like to look for other concert forms to go out, to go in public space. It's hard because I love our concert halls and we need them too. On the other side, so few people went in, and when the people can come in touch with what we are doing, just where they are, yeah, it's could be very interesting for them and for us too.
Yeah. I like this idea of the river and the boats and the riverbank being the stage. That's a great.
And we are moving through that. It's really fantastic, and you have that in Chicago.
Yeah. Right. Cool. Let's take a look at the vacuum piece just really quick, maybe, if you like.
Yes.
This, I hadn't seen, the violin piece I knew before, the orchestra piece I knew before, but the vacuum piece I didn't know before. I guess it's a new piece, right?
Exactly. It should have had the premiere in Witten, Tage für Neue Musik, end of April. Sure, yeah. Of course, it was cancelled.
Yeah.
So they did, fortunately, a recording out of this piece.
Yeah. When I first started watching it, I was like, I think it was the first one that I opened, and I started watching it, and I was like, this is nuts. So, in a good way, of course. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Let's just do the very beginning, and then let's do the very beginning, and then I don't even know what to say about it. It's so great. Here we go. Yeah, this it's like, I don't know, it's like, 12th century organum, you know, while you're cleaning the house or something like that. I don't know, but what did you intend? And we should look at the end as well. But tell me about how you thought of this. This is, I mean, maybe this is a silly way to think about it, but just so many of your pieces. Again, so my first reaction is to be like fascinated and sort of stuck in there with the piece, trying to figure out what's going to happen and always being surprised. But then my next thought is always like, how did you think of this? Just like,
Yeah, this is was kind part of the research we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
How finding new sounds, and since quite a couple of years, I'm searching for the sound of the noise of sucking.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have all the blow the wind instrument, we blow, we sing, or we
breath sounds,
we rub. So strings, they streich, they bow. No, it's the friction. So we produce sound by friction and by blowing. But this element of sucking, like how we can produce this with an instrument that we can modulate, and so because it's part of our life, this sound, and we don't have the instruments for that.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it is. I mean, as you say, like breath sounds are common. Like whether it's blowing through just a wind instrument playing a pitch, or whether it's like, air sounds on an instrument, or like strings imitating air sounds. Air sounds are really common in our music, and we also have like air conditioning in buildings, not in Germany so much, but, in the US, we have lots of air conditioning, inside. So just that's a really common sound that we're used to hearing in music. Right. But yeah, you're right. I don't think the kind of like the opposite sound is a part of our lives, but is not common in our music.
Yes, and often when we do with a straw, we play with this because it's so, it sounds so rich. And so I thought, of course, what to use a vacuum cleaner, which sucks. And then I tried a lot of material, and so, which is very interesting too. And at one moment I went to my mouth, and I don't know why it happened, but luckily it happened. Really at the last moment. I did a lot with a vacuum cleaner, but not this. And then I found out that there is a sound without doing anything. And first I did the vacuum songs for a percussion player, a solo. It's the sound is created just by the volume of your the hole of the mouth, the mouth hole.
Yeah, like the kind of the cavern or something, right? The internal, the kind of negative space in the mouth.
Exactly. And very small changings have a big effect on the sound.
So, so the piece is going to be really different depending on who's playing it then, right?
Of course, it's really different. And I couldn't fix it so much. So we tried out a lot together, and some people, it works perfectly, and with some people it doesn't.
Wild.
It depends on, the flash. Or I don't know. It's not very clear. And you have to let you go in this new instrument. Yeah. So it needs a lot of wish to produce sounds.
Cool. Okay, let's watch the end, if you don't mind, just because
I say you because this is my favorite song in it, and she can do it. It's 8 minutes old. 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Okay, we'll start at 8 minutes. Sounds good.
They are so great.
It's so great. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like it's like they're like cyborgs or something, you know. It's some sort of weird, you know, half human, half machine being, you know, speaking in its own language or something like that.
And a feministic statement.
Okay, is that right? Did you intend it to be feminist?
It turns out I was just looking for sounds.
Well, yeah. So yeah, what do you said you really liked the song at like 8 minutes. What's how did that come about?
Yeah, she could produce this very oboe like sound.
Yeah.
Only with her mouth. And I think she has a song in mind. I have to ask her.
Okay.
Because we tried out a lot, and you can play with this forever. It's very hard material to get formed.
Sure, right.
Because you have to be so to pay so much attention what is going on form it. So a difficult instrument.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like you have to learn the instrument, you know.
Because in the beginning suddenly things happens, and to really, so now I want to produce this sound. It needs to be practiced. Yeah, so we worked a lot via Skype. We worked because we couldn't meet, and but then finally we did, and I wrote a score which is a bit open and a bit fixed. And of course, if other people will do it, will be a bit different. Yes, and it was not so easy to make a duo because the sound is so complex. In the beginning, they play with their voice. At the end, what we have seen, it's only the sucking. It's without voice. But when they add the voice, there are so many beatings in between.
Right.
So it's really a rich sound. And to have a duo with complex sound, and to be able to really listen the two voices, it was a challenge, yes.
Yeah, right. It's a lot of sound. It's a lot to
Yes.
sort of difficult to control, maybe.
Yes.
You should do an orchestra piece where everyone plays vacuums.
Or to mix it, a solo piece for singer and orchestra.
Yeah, concerto for vacuum and orchestra.
I think too many vacuums, they neutralize.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But to have some instrument, maybe, I don't know, yes.
Well, let's talk. Cool. Well, we've kept you for a long time, like almost an hour and a half. So, I mean, thank you for, taking the time to talk. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or anything I haven't asked you about that you just want to talk about in your work, what you're working on now, or how you're doing, in quarantine time, or?
Yes, proof like you, maybe for me personally, the composers, being composer, it's a very quarantine friendly job.
Yeah, right.
But being a musician, not at all. The
Not at
opposite.
all, yeah.
Yes. So as a composer, it's much easier. But it's not. So I'm writing now for Donaueschingen, for Musikfabrik, hoping that it will happen.
In October, yeah.
Yes. But it's a bit hard when you don't know if it's will be. Yeah. So of course I'm a bit paralyzed to get the news, and it's a catastrophe. It is. So, and my sons are here back home again, and I enjoy a lot eating, walking outdoors, teaching more than normal, or we be online because it's good to be in close contact. Yeah, but I don't have the need to go out so soon. I have only the need that we will have concerts again.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. And it's a bit hard to experience that the art is not system relevant.
Yeah.
The butcher here is system relevant. To buy meat, but to have art, it's not important for our politicians.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be active.
Yeah.
Because especially for a crisis, art is helping a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And online, so you can't imagine that situation without internet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think so far, I can't say that I've seen any like really great use of internet and like concerts or anything like that. So far, I've seen, a lot of online concerts, and they just feel to me like a sad version of the old concerts, and so I'm really waiting for someone to come up with a great way to have some sort of online artistic experience. Maybe that's going to be you.
I think it's good that we have this, like we are doing now, because we have the possibility to talk.
Talk, right? Yeah,
and
exactly.
That spirit is on.
Yeah.
But art is a direct experience. Yes.
Yeah.
And now it's the time to go out and play for only a few persons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually, maybe instant composing is a good thing to do.
Exactly.
In this, maybe Down the Table will have to do that this summer.
Yes.
It will do more instant composing exercises. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for that idea. Cool.
And thank you, Michael. It's such a
Carola,
pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, such a pleasure to talk to you. I wish we were. As you said, it's a the one silver lining is every cloud has a silver lining, we say in English. The one silver lining is that we can at least, normally we wouldn't take an hour and a half and just talk about music. And so it's nice to be able to have the time and just talk to someone who has so much to say like you. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah. Oh, before I forget, can we just listen to part of the George Lewis piece?
Yes.
Did you listen to
Yes, I listened
yeah.
to it.
Just there's this one bit that I just wanted to like. It really seems like such a direct. Where here it is. It's like in George Lewis's Big Shoulders, Sharp Elbows.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's like. Let me see. Just like a George Lewis tribute to Carola Bauckholt.
But do you know if he thought about this piece?
Yeah, this is what he said. He and I were listening to it together, and and then we just listened to the whole thing, and I heard that, and I was like, that seems like music of Carola's that I've heard. I was just kind of vaguely thinking that, and then afterwards I was just asking about the materials, and we got to that part, and he's like, oh, and this is the Carola Bauckholt tribute part, and I was like, I can't believe it,
Yeah, I can't believe it too, because it's kind of commonplace. And but I love how free he goes with this motive, how freely he can, because it's often my problem when I transcribe this. I feel so fixed to the original. It's so good, and I try to use that material freely, but I can't. And he did it, and this is wonderful, and it's a great piece.
Yeah, he'll be so happy to hear that, I think. I mean, he loves your music.
I'm asking myself which sharp elbows and
big shoulders.
And big shoulders he means. There's a special human he has in mind.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to. I did remember I wanted to ask you about that, since it's.
Yeah, I met him in Stuttgart. He told you. Where I listened his orchestra piece, and I had a piece, another orchestra piece there. Yes, and I'm very happy that I know him in person, and I look forward to see him again. Of course.
Yeah. You should come to next time you're in the States. You should go to New York and hang out with him. He's just a fun guy to hang out with and talk to.
Yes, he's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing composer and musician.
I agree. Well, I'm lucky to know both of you. So anyway, thank you for listening to the Ensemble Del Niente Fellow Travelers podcast. I hope you're enjoying it. If you'd like to support our work or know more about us, you can visit our website at delniente.com, where you can make a donation, or you can support us at our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/delniente. Thank you so much for your support.